Hello and welcome, friends. Glad you're here. Glad you're here for another bit. Just wanted to say thank you for being here. Thanks for spending your time. I'm glad you're here. Please go ahead and comment down below something random like, hey, your torch timer's still at 1 when it should be at 2. And we'll get started. Previously, our guys entered the lands of Barovia, passed the gates, and made their way down here. Now, they catch the faint scent of death on the air. Dendor looks at the group and says, "Does anybody else smell that stench?" And he will go ahead and pull his mace out. He'll take it off of the loop on his belt and hold it kind of loosely, and his shield at the ready. Sidaros will take his space behind Marina because she's our heavy-hitting fighter. So Marina will draw her blade and also ready her shield. Astrid will keep the torch as high as she can for being a halfling. And she will also prepare her mace as well. She pulls a small mace off of her belt. So she has a torch in one hand, mace in the other, and she takes a spot kind of near Sidaros. Astrid says, "Should we find out what this thing is?" Marina responds, "Yes, I think it would be wise to track down this scent and see what foulness is about." Sidaros mentions, sounds like the rot, or smells like the rot of a corpse. Let's see what we can find. And our group will go ahead and see if they can track down our smell. So we'll go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and roll with advantage because the creature that's causing the smell has been dead for a minute and rotting in this water basically for a while. So he's pretty smelly. In fact, some would probably not even bother rolling, but I just wanted to see. It's going to be an easy difficulty. So very low difficulty and a wisdom check. So 11 plus our combined wisdom is a +1, so 12, which hits a normal difficulty. This is fantastic. Our heroes follow the scent of death, and the foul scent leads them to a human corpse, half buried in the underbrush about 15 feet from the road. The young man appears to be a commoner. His muddy clothes are torn and raked with claw marks. Crows have been at the body, which is surrounded by paw prints. The man has obviously been dead for several days. He holds a crumpled envelope in one hand. Now, first things first, I'm going to go ahead and roll a random encounter. And generally, these are 1 in 6 for Shadowdark. However, Curse of Strahd modifies this for us in a beautiful way. Go ahead and find our random encounter list. Here we go. Let's see, an 18 or higher on a d20. 7. No random encounter just yet. All right. Sidaros will move forward. He's perhaps unsurprisingly, the least squeamish of the group. And he kneels down. The rest of the party, Astrid, Dendor, and Marina, though, they will all take kind of a protective barrier or boundary around Sidaros. And they will face outward as he examines the corpse. Now, Sidaros looks down and carefully pulls the note off of, out of the man's hand. Let's see here. The letter has a large B set into a wax seal. The parchment is worn and flimsy and probably soaked from all of the wet that's out here. Let's see. Sidaros will carefully open the letter. Now the book directs us to Appendix F. Out. What this letter says. It's specifically version 2. Man, I wish this was not in cursive. This is going to be interesting. Sidaros holds the letter aloft and tries to examine it and reads it out loud. Hail thee of mighty valor, Sidaros says. I, the burgomaster of Barovia, send you honor with despair. My adopted daughter, the fair Irina, has been these past nights bitten by a vampire. For over 400 years, this creature has drained the lifeblood of my people. How my dear Irina languishes and dies from an unholy wound caused by this vile beast. He has become too powerful to conquer. So I say to you, give us up for dead, and encircle this land with the symbols of good. Let holy men call upon their powers, that the devil may be contained within the walls of weeping Barovia. Leave our sorrows to our graves, and save the world from this evil fate of ours. There is much wealth entrapped in this community. Return for your reward after we are all departed for a better life. Signed, Kolyan Indirovich, Burgomaster. Dendor looks at the group and pulls out his favorite phrase. That doesn't bode well. And Sidaros laughs a little bit. Kind of a nervous laugh, he does. Kind of a nervous trill. And he will carefully fold the paper back up and put it back in the envelope. And he'll go ahead and set it inside his pocket. So we'll go ahead and write down letter. And for us, we're going to write down version 2. It matters less to us because we never encountered version 1. But here we are. Astrid says, a vampire? I don't think that I've ever encountered a vampire before, have we? No. Marina says, I've heard tales of some people encountering vampires and it's never ended well. We should tread carefully. This man looks like he's been dead a few days. So I think it's safe to assume that his letter never made it to where it was designed to go, and it was not long enough ago. I'm certain that we will find this valley still full of some version of life, even if it is this wretched weeping. Our torch timer will turn to 3. Well, Dendor looks at the group again. There's nothing for it, I suppose. I think all we can do is move forward. The gate back is closed on us, and I'm not about to venture deeper into these woods to attempt to get out of this area. I think the best way to go is probably forward and see if we can't find a road back to Rularn. Sidaros agrees. Yes, that's a wise move, I believe. Let's push forward and see what this land holds before us. We'll tread cautiously, I think. Hopefully we can get out of this land before this vampire becomes aware of our presence. Astrid nervously nods and holds her holy symbol of Madeira close. Or sorry, holy symbol of Saint Taragnus. I apologize. She holds her holy symbol of Saint Taragnus very close to her. And the group once again looks down at the body. Will they bury the body or leave it? I think with a cleric of Saint Taragnus, it's likely. So we'll go ahead and roll on the yes/no oracle with advantage. Will they bury him? 10, a twist. I have an idea of what the twist is, but let's go ahead and roll on the table. Let's see what this gives us here. All right. So 2 D100 rolls. Move these guys out of the way. Go ahead and grab this. We got a 70. Win. Let me go ahead and write down, do they bury the body? And we got a twist. And it is win. 66. Let's see here. Win knowledge. Win knowledge. Let me ponder over this a minute. All right, so I'm going to begin basically Sidaros is going to look around the body. He sees the wolf prints and everything, and he examines them and says, "Looks like this man was attacked by wolves. I think it'd be wise to keep our torches lit and ready, and be wary of all these wolves." But Sidaros also mentions we should probably leave, and Astrid says, "I think we should bury the man and give him his last rites." Dendor agrees, and so the group pauses for a little while. Then they give basically Astrid holds the torch high as Dendor, Sidaros, and Marina dig a shallow grave in the mud and carefully place the man inside. Astrid will say a prayer to Saint Taragnus and hold her symbol over the body, and as they begin to push the mud over the man, they hear the sounds of a wagon approaching and the sounds of horses. And they look up, and Sidaros says, "Oh, our first sign of civilization. Fantastic. I'll go meet them on the road." And he maneuvers over and kind of climbs out from between the trees, and leaving kind of Dendor and Marina to push the mud back onto the corpse. And eventually the group joins them, kind of dirty, as the wagon pulls up in front of Sidaros. There's a man sitting on the seat guiding the horses, an elf, it appears. And he looks down at the group, and Sidaros holds up a hand. "Hail and well met, traveler. My name is Sidaros, and these are my friends. I apologize for our appearance, but we're a little lost." And the man in the seat bows at the waist, kind of not bothering to stand up or anything. And he says, "You may call me Rahadin. And my lord bids you welcome to Barovia." And the wagon window kind of opens up a little bit. And beyond, they can see a nobleman who bows his head a little bit, just kind of gives the party a nod, and says, "Hello, Sidaros and company. Please allow me to give you a ride back to a small village not far from here. Perhaps you can get some rest," as he looks at each and every one of them. Now, we're going to do a wisdom check, basically. I want to see if the party recognizes that this man is evaluating them, basically. 18. Astrid immediately, she has the highest wisdom. Astrid immediately, like, backs away, kind of. And she whispers to Dendor, he's kind of, like, look at the way he's analyzing us. And Dendor grunts, and kind of puts a calming hand on Astrid's shoulder. And the man says, I am Count Strahd von Zarovich. Welcome to Barovia. Please, there's a room for 3 of you in the wagon here, and then one may sit next to Rahadin, my servant. Please, allow me to do this favor for you. And so, Sidaros bows slightly and says, thank you, Count Zarovich. And they help Astrid up in the seat next to Rahadin. And then Daros, Dendor, and Marina, they will all enter the cab of the wagon. And the wagon will, Rahadin pilots the wagon and carefully maneuvers it back to come the way back, basically heading back west. He turns the wagon around, and they start on their journey to the village of Barovia. The Count looks at each person, just staring at them, and Sidaro says, maybe a bit uncomfortably, thank you very much for picking us up, my lord. You have quite the land here. We weren't expecting to find too much out here as we were traveling. And Strahd looks and says, you are travelers, yes? What caused you to become travelers? And Sidaros says, we were mapping the area around our city, Rularn, perhaps you've heard of it. Essentially we're trying to find old ruins around our city. It's been unsafe for a couple of generations to leave the city limits, and so we were hired to go investigate a little bit and try to come up with a map for the people, for some interested parties in Rularn. None of the documents that we had been exposed to suggested that there was a barony out here. And Strahd laughs heartily. Oh no, this I'm afraid that I am unaware of this Rularn that you speak of, as the wagon continues. But I have been within the realm of Barovia for a long time, and our histories, while they reach out beyond it, are a bit spotty at best. Nevertheless, you are welcome for the moment. And Dendor looks up. What do you mean for the moment? And Strahd says, I apologize. I may not be able to say that you are welcome in every town that you will visit in as you stay in Barovia, but I'm glad you found your way through the mists safely, and I'm glad you're here. And eventually the wagon pulls in, and they start to see, the buildings of the town. Go ahead and pull this out. I'm gonna go ahead and pull out the map of the village of Barovia. And Astrid will have put her torch out. Now the wagon comes into the village of Barovia. And let's see if our party notices anything strange as they enter. Go ahead and move over to Chapter 3, Village of Barovia. All right. Tall shapes loom out of the dense fog that surrounds everything. The muddy ground under the wagon wheels gives way to slick, wet cobblestone. The tall shapes become recognizable as village dwellings. The windows of each house stare out from pools of blackness. No sound cuts the silence except for mournful sobbing that echoes through the streets from a distance. Now the horse hooves and the wagon wheels, they clop along this cobblestone path, and eventually the wagon stops. And Strahd, he indicates the building, and he says, "Welcome once again to Barovia. I'm glad you're here, and this is a nice inn that you may stay at, the Blood on the Vine. It is a acceptable place to perhaps find a bath to get that mud off of you. In the meantime, enjoy your stay. And until we meet again, my friends, take care." And, Astrid and Sidaros and the rest of the party, they climb out of the wagon. And Sidaros bows to the group, bows to Strahd von Zarovich, and says, "Thank you, my lord, for allowing us a safe passage to this town. You have our deepest gratitude, and we are in your debt." And Strahd will kind of just wave a hand and says, "Until we meet again." And he'll tap the side of the wagon with one knuckle, and Rahadin gently gets the horses moving, and the wagon moves off down the road. And it quickly is lost sight in the mist. Now our party of 4, they stand. Let's go ahead and move this guy. We'll go ahead and set the map on top of my notes here. They met Strahd. All right, let's see here. So our heroes stand in the mud here. They'll look around. Let's see. Astrid says, "That sobbing is unnerving," as it echoes up like around. The fog kind of has a strange effect on it. It seems oddly faint, but amplified somehow. It's hard to describe it. Someone is certainly having a bad day. I wonder if it's worth investigating, Dendor says in his gravelly voice. Let's see here. Now the group will go ahead, take stock. They look around, and they'll go ahead and turn the Blood of the Vine Tavern. See a single shaft of light thrusts illumination into the main square, its brightness looking like a solid pillar in the heavy fog. Above the gaping doorway, a sign hangs precariously askew, proclaiming this to be the Blood on the Vine Tavern. And they approach the doorway, and Sidaros looks up and says, "Oh, used to be called Blood of the Vine, but there's an N scratched over the F. Blood on the Vine Tavern. And they all look at each other. And they'll go ahead and enter the tavern. It's about 60 foot square. And as they look around, Astrid says, looks like it was nice maybe 50 years ago. Everything's so worn out. As they look at the chipped tables and chairs. And they can see the hearth itself, at least, has a nice fire in it. But the warmth from the fire seems to be limited. And there's only a few souls within the building. There's the barkeep, 3 people in bright colors. They're kind of sitting off to their own side. And a man who's closest to the fire, who has a large cup of some kind of beverage. One of the brightly dressed people will stand and says, "Welcome, my friends, welcome to the Blood of the Vine Tavern. Please, please, have a seat anywhere. What, may I get you something to drink? We have some wine, if you would like." And the group will kind of shuffle over to a table and have a seat. And Sidaros will say, wine would be fantastic. Marina watches the man go and sees the other 2 staring at them. And she says, "I've never heard an accent like these before." Sidaros says, "It could be just that Rularn's been cut off for long enough that maybe that's just how these people speak, I guess. Like, it does seem unusual to be so close together and have such a different accent, but maybe it's from years of being separated. It's hard to say." Eventually, the brightly colored individual, or the brightly dressed individual, comes back and places down 4 glasses and fills them with a bottle of wine and places the bottle and says, "That'll be 2 gold, please." Sidaros will pull a little bit of gold out and hands it to the individual, who takes it and places it in a purse. And he says, "Thank you, my friends. Please enjoy the wine. I will have some food out later if that is what you wish." And Astrid's stomach kind of grumbles as he mentions food. And Dendor says, "That would be fantastic, thank you. What is it, by the way?" "Ah, we have some pork for you available. Pork and potatoes. Unfortunately, that's about all that Barovia has to offer. Maybe some goat on occasion." And Dendor nods and says, "That's acceptable." And the man moves off to go ahead and take care of the meal prep. Marina looks around and says, it's hard to get comfortable in this place." And she kind of leans close to the group. She says, "There's like this undercurrent. Again, everything's on edge." And they look up and they make eye contact with the man who's sitting alone. And he's frowning, basically. He makes eye contact. And then he gives them a brief nod and goes back to drinking from his goblet. Now, let's see. What happens next is the question. Food is brought out by the man. And he eventually goes back to join the 2 people that he was originally with. And they all the 3 people are all dressed brightly. They're laughing and talking and having a good time. But as our party watches them, they seem to pretty consistently or pretty constantly look at the rest of the tavern, and it's always played off kind of as they're laughing and looking about, but there's definitely something more to their looks. Definitely something more. Marina says we should be on our guard. Eventually, this standalone man who's just drinking his wine, he he picks up his cup, stands up. Those three brightly dressed individuals watch him as he maneuvers through the tables over to our party. And he says, I see that you have found Barovia. And the party kind of looks at each other. And Marina says, yes, we have. And the man says, my condolences. And please excuse my my lack of manners. I am Ismark. And he bows slightly at the waist. Says, may I join you? The party looks at each other, and Sidaros nods just very faintly. Sidaros nods and says, of course. We're new to the area, and we could definitely use a, how do you say, introduction, essentially. And Ismark will bow again at the waist, and then he'll sit down. He says, Ismark Kolyanovich at your service. And our party introduces themselves: Sidaros, Astrid, Marina, and Dendor. And Ismark looks at them and says, how is it that you came to Barovia? And our party will they'll think about what they want to offer to Ismark, because they don't want to be an open book, but they also aren't super concerned with keeping secrets, I suppose. So I think that they will just be honest at the moment and say that our the city we're from, Rularn, we were in mapping the area around it. It has been some time since anyone's really left the vicinity of Rularn, and so we were doing some mapping expeditions, and we eventually came to a mountain, some mountain passes, went through, and came across the road leading to your village. We're not certain exactly where this is in relation to Rularn at this point. Our map is a little bit off at this point. And Ismark nods. And he says, and so you haven't been here that long then? Sidaro says, no, of course not. It's only been less than a day. Luckily, we encountered a nobleman that dropped us off here. And Ismark looks up. A nobleman? Sidaro says, yes, kind of a nice gentleman. Count Strahd von Zarovich. I'm assuming that he's he's master of the area. And Ismark chuckles softly and says, ah, so you met the devil himself. And I think that's where we'll leave it, folks. I think that's where we'll cut it off. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being around. Glad you could make it. If you've made it this far, please hit the thumbs up button, follow and subscribe, all that garbage. You know how the internet works. Interacting with the content is worth its weight. It's worth its weight in gold. So again, thanks very much for being here. I'm glad that you're on this journey. with me through the lands of Barovia. And we will see you next time. I think that I might try to play again maybe tomorrow morning. I will try to get a schedule hammered out so you know what to expect. But if you're following along on Twitch, I think I'll try to play in the morning, and that way, you can avoid all those sleep streams and just watch me play some D&D. Or Shadowdark, I should say. Anyway, enough of my rambling. Thanks again so much for being around, and we will see you next time. Good luck out there.